Hey guys, NoZoupForYou here, and today I'm going to talk about what I view as the top 5 things that I see people doing that are wrong in this season of ranked gameplay. Before I get to that though, you're watching some gameplay from Kalorn, one of my friends and fellow community contributors. This was an absolutely awesome round that he had. He wound up taking on 2 enemy ships at the very end by himself with extremely low health and a heart-pounding, adrenaline-rushing finale to this round. He probably couldn't sleep the night after he finished this round. It was so intense. But it was a very, very clutch ending that I want to share with you all. Just an awesome round overall. If you're not aware of who Kalorn is, he and Kami Samurai and Venacera are part of the World of Warships podcast show. You need to check them out. These guys are awesome. Their podcast is phenomenal. They've had some very, very awesome guests on the show. They've had myself, and I'm not going to say that I'm an awesome guest. I'm pretty much filler for them, I think, when they can't get someone better. So they've had people like Jingles on there. They've had Yuro, you know, ATSF, Euro Beats. They've had him on recently. So anyone who is anyone in the World of Warships community, they have had on their podcast and have discussed a wide range of things. So you need to check them out. These guys are great. They're class acts. They're awesome. They're all very, very good World of Warships players, well-seasoned. They know what they're talking about. They know how to play. And their podcast, again, is awesome. Comes out every single week. You know, and if you're just driving around or something, you're on the road for an hour, or you're just taking a shower, you can just pop on their podcast, listen to what they have to say. So I cannot recommend these guys enough. So again, check out World of Warships podcast with Kalorn, Kami Samurai, and Venacera. Just great overall. So now back to the topic at hand as this game unfolds in the background. We're another season of ranked, and I've kind of lost my mind already. I made it to 10, and now I'm back down to 11, yo-yoing. I think I've probably got about 40 or 50 rounds in, and it's the same thing overall. It's the same thing every single season. And for you players out there who've played ranked every single season, you see the same things over and over. Just the tactical and boneheaded mistakes that happen, because inevitably you get some players in there that might not be in it for the right reasons, or they're just new, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's absolutely nothing at all we can do about it. We just have to kind of grin and bear it and let that inner frustration just kind of simmer. So I'm going to talk about the top 5 things that I'm seeing this season that players are doing wrong, and I think these are kind of universal and have been in existence every single season. So I'm just going to kind of cover this as more of a maybe kind of to help everyone, or at least the players that are doing these, to just kind of get some hints. Because, you know, there's one thing to criticize, but when you criticize and you don't provide a way to fix those criticisms, you know, that's when we run into problems. So let's go through these real quick. Number 5 right now, using the ship the wrong way. And this is a big one that everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of players do sometimes. And what do I mean by using the ship wrong? Well, a great example of using the ship wrong is if you're in a Farragut and you decide to pop smoke for yourself for absolutely no reason, or because you're spotted right away by one ship, or whatever, or because you just want to sit and loiter in cap. Guys, that's a waste of smoke right there. You're wasting smoke that you could be using to conceal your team. And when you conceal your team, they can't be seen and they can't be hit. Yes, the enemy might know where they're at in a general idea. They might be able to launch torps in that direction, but they're not going to be able to hit them with spamming HE. So that's one example of using your ship wrong. Another one, carriers. You know, that's great if you're going to play a carrier. I like seeing carriers sometimes. A great carrier player in this game can turn the tide, but you know, if you're just out there to sink the enemy carriers and the capital ships like the battleships, and you're not spotting, you're not doing any good for your team. You gotta be spotting both caps continually. You have to keep them spotted. use your fighters or whatever else, but we need to know where those destroyers are at. If we don't know where the destroyers are at, that's crippling our ability to do what we need to do to win at ranked. So that's what I mean by players using ships wrong. So just be cognizant of the type of ship you're in. If you're in a destroyer, just realize that your smoke is critical to your team. You have to use it for your team. You have to be selfless. Don't blow it on yourself. I mean, I know stuff happens, and sometimes you have to, because if you get sunk right away, you're no good to your team. So yes, I'd rather see a Farragut or another destroyer pop his smoke to save himself, if he absolutely has to, than be sunk. But, you know, don't get in a habit of it. That's what I mean by using the ship the wrong way. Moving on to number 4, poor situational awareness. Played a lot of rounds so far where one battleship just decides that he's going to push forward into the cap regardless. He knows he's focus fired. He knows he has 4 or 5 ships firing at him, and instead of stopping and backing up or requesting help from his teammates, he just barrels forward, and he's gone. And I just don't get that. I don't understand that logic. So, guys, just be cognizant of what you're doing. You know, do you really want to be the tip of the spear if you're a battleship and there's no one around you? No, you don't, because you're going to get focus fired and you're going to have HE raid down on you, and it's going to be a bad day, and your round's going to be over quick, and so is ours, because we're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to be able to finish the round off. So, you know, that also goes for understanding what map you're on and where you're starting at. That's a big part of situational awareness as well. We know there are certain maps that if you start on a certain side, you should be going for B instead of A, or vice versa. Or maps with 3 caps in it. You know that you should probably be going towards B to contest that midpoint instead of just focusing everyone on A and allowing the enemy to cap B. So that requires someone on the team to have knowledge of that, though. And that player has to speak up and kind of take the lead and say, hey guys, look, we need to go here, this is why. And when you do it, make sure you do it tactfully, because players don't like being preached to, or, you know, they sometimes take things a little wrong. So just be tactful when you're trying to help, and don't do it in a way that you're appearing to be superior. So that's analyzing your situational awareness and reacting off of it. And a lot of times in ranked, I'm seeing a lot of players that aren't doing that, and they're just getting themselves into trouble. And I'll admit I've done it a couple times in destroyers too. I'm not without fault, but fortunately I can look at it and I realize what I did and learn from my mistakes and say, hey, I'm never going to this spot again for the rest of ranked gameplay, because it's a disaster if I go there. And, you know, sometimes you just overextend and you don't realize it. It happens. And I get that. But when you blatantly do it, when you just do it and I don't know what the logic is, that's when things get bad. Number 3, one of the 3 most common things I'm seeing in ranked right now is players not focus firing. And when I say players, I mean the entire team. Guys, it's simple in ranked. You sink ships with massed fire. And by doing that, someone calls out a ship, and it's usually that cruiser or destroyer that pops up first and decides to go broadside and make a quick turnaround. Light the target up, point it out using your hotkey for it. I've got my hotkey for targeting as H, so when I have a ship highlighted and press H, it lets the entire team know I want them to shoot at that ship. So go into your hotkeys and make one for the that function, but point it out and then spell it out in chat. Say, hey, everybody, fire at this ship. When you've got 5 ships firing at the cruiser, that cruiser's not going to be around long, and that eliminates 1 ship. If you only have 1 ship firing at that, and then you have 2 ships firing at another ship, and then 2 ships firing somewhere else, yeah, you're going to take a long time to sink ships. Mass your fire, pick 1 ship, take it out, move on to the next. Sometimes it's obvious what you should shoot at. That destroyer pops into the open in the cap because he's not paying attention, or he accidentally fires. Yeah, that's probably going to be your target. And that's how a lot of destroyers go down very quickly. Cruisers, yes. And, you know, again, this comes down to understanding how to play your ship. You know, battleships, you need to be taking cruisers out. This was even more critical in previous seasons when we had radar. You had to take out the radar ships first. You had to focus them first. So, again, not focus firing can really hurt a team in the beginning when you've got every player doing their own thing, farming damage off of ships that no one else cares about or that aren't an immediate threat. It doesn't help your team whatsoever. And that leads me into number 2, the second most common thing I'm seeing right now, just an absolute lack of communication. Just players not talking to each other. If you're going into rank gameplay, you should be talking to your team. You should want to talk to your team. I don't know why someone would go into ranked gameplay and just be silent the entire time. It doesn't make sense. Unless they don't know how to use the chat function, which is a problem in of its own because they're a player that is probably so green they shouldn't be in ranked in the first place. So if you get into ranked, don't be afraid to be vocal. Use your voice. Let your team know what you're thinking and what you believe should happen. There shouldn't be one player in the beginning saying, "Where are we going?" with no one answering. Every single one on the team should be voicing their opinion. If you have to have a democratic vote on which flag to push towards, do it, or which cap. You know, that's awesome. That means the entire team is talking. Really, I think the best way to solve this would to put the function into ranked gameplay where it's an open voice channel for the entire team. Yeah, I know some people are worried about that if you do that, you're going to have issues with people being jackasses. That's an easy fix. It's too easy right there. Just put a function in there where if more than 2 or 3 players on the team vote to mute this person, they're automatically kicked from the chat channel. But having open chat for 7 players in ranked gameplay is not unrealistic. Actually, it's a necessity. Think about any division in PvP. You know, the fact that those 3 people might be in TeamSpeak talking to each other gives them a huge advantage over a team that's not communicating. It allows them to set up and control the battlefield. And that's what you need in ranked gameplay. So, World of Warships, I implore you, put the actual voice chat function into team gameplay so the entire team can talk to each other openly during the battle. That is a necessity in order to win, and I think it would make it a lot more enjoyable for players. It would feel like there's a lot more teamwork going on. And another thing about that, if someone is sunk, remove them from the ability to talk immediately, because at that point they're really not doing anything for the team. And you know, if you go into bird's eye view, you can kind of give a little edge up, so you don't want that to happen. You don't want things to be exploited. So there's that. So no communication, or players that don't want to communicate. And if you're in ranked gameplay and you don't want to communicate, I really don't know why you're there in the first place, because it's about communication. So here's the number 1 thing I see wrong right this season and every season. And that's players using no flags and no camouflage. Guys, I understand some of you might forget to put camouflage on. You might be running low on flags. But you always have camouflage. It's awarded like candy, even the cheapest. Use it. You have got to use it. If I spawn into a battle and I see 2 or 3 ships on my team with no camouflage, it's like, dear God, what's going to happen? So please, make sure you're using your flags. Make sure you're using your camo, because that camo is, you know, that helps your concealment right off the bat. That's making you a more effective player. I mean, ranked is the one place you should be using these things. That's where you use it. So beginners out there, if you're new to ranked, use those things. They help you. It helps you to stay alive. The flags, the camo does too. It keeps you concealed. If you're not using those, you're not serious about ranked, or you just don't know. If you just don't know, maybe you need to sit ranked out. Maybe you need to go back to PvP or play PvE for a while to learn more of the mechanics of the game. And I get that. There's new players in ranked, and I encourage new players to play. But if you're going to play, know what you got to do to help yourself survive. So those are the 5 things I'm seeing wrong. Same thing every season. And, you know, I kind of added some fixes in there. But I'm not going to dwell on that. We're going to get back to this gameplay because it's really started to heat up right now. And Lauren is just, you know, he's carrying his team through. So let's watch the end of this round. I mean, it Phenomenal gameplay from Kaloran, and really highlights the Warspite and how awesome the Warspite is in ranked gameplay. If you have a Warspite and you're not using it in ranked, you need to, because the ship is the bee's knees. Alright guys, so let's watch him finish this off. And at this point in the round, there's only 2 other ships left. We got a Warspite and a Leander, so you know, everybody's at low health right now. This game has kind of dragged on, and he's going to take a shot at the Warspite right now. And I know he's hoping to finish him off, and there's the torps from the Leander. Can't quite finish off the Warspite, and the Warspite's just going to manage to get behind this mountain, this island. I guess it's not really a mountain so much as it is an island, or a mountainous island, but he's going to hide behind there before he can get his other shots off. And yeah, so it's just a little too late right here. Just a tad too late. He's trying to sneak one in over the mountain, and that didn't work. So now he's going to shift focus to the Leander. He knows he's out there. He knows he's there, and the Leander's going to make a mistake right here. He's going to fire early, and takes a small dent off of him, and that's going to be the end for him, because Kaloran has his rounds loaded up, and he's going to peg the Leander right here. There goes the torp threat, there goes the Leander, and he's 1 ship away from winning. But the problem is he has less than 1,000 hit points. But this other Warspite does as well, so what it's going to come down to right now is whoever fires first is going to be the winner here. So, you know, it doesn't get closer than this. And you can see Kaloran, he's just kind of constantly zooming in, peeking around this corner right here, pieing the corner, and whoever gets their shots off first is going to be the winner. And I think we all know how this is going to go right now. Kaloran does manage to get his first shot off, or his shot off first, and he manages to take out the other Warspite. The other Warspite just pops in, not quick enough, and that's the end of his adrenaline pumping round. It was a phenomenal round. Kaloran, thank you for this gameplay and highlighting how awesome the Warspite is in ranked. It's a great ship in ranked. So go ahead and use it if you have it. If you don't and can get it, grab it. But this is going to be the end of the Warspite here. Round over.